Okay, I think that we are actually recording the session now. Thank you very much. So, once again, thank you very much for being here today for our second session on focusing on gender and energy. We are very happy to be working together with our partners. I will be talking about in a second on this very exciting project. First, I would like to give a very brief introduction to RESCOOP. For those of you that may not know us, we are the European Federation of Citizen Energy Cooperatives, a not-for-profit association. We're based in Belgium, and we're actually very happy to be working together with the partners from Burgerenergie, Women Engaged for a Common Future, Electra Energy, and Milieu Contact Albania on this very exciting project, the EUCENA. The project is actually part of the OIKI initiative, the European Climate Initiative. It is a project financed by the German Federal Ministry for the Environment, the Natural Conservation and Nuclear Safety. Then the main objective of EUCENA is to actually create and share the necessary knowledge to increase the number of energy communities in the southeast of Europe. For this, in doing this, we actually pay special attention to the gender justice and business model innovation. In parallel, EUCENA hopes to support the diversification of the citizen energy field, the existing communities in Germany and Central Europe, in both, again, in terms of both gender and business models. So you are today attending the second session on gender and energy. I will just briefly mention some other things that, some other activities that EUCENA will actually be focusing on. We will be doing, like the session we have today, multiple workshops and coaching sessions. Unfortunately, we don't know until when, but our workshops would need to be more on the digital world, like as the one shown in the picture. And in the coming period, we will also be organizing 2 summer schools in Germany or online, again, depends on the development with the COVID situation, and then in Greece next year. We will also be publishing a best practice guide focusing on opportunities, challenges for citizen energy initiatives, as well as the role of communities on tackling energy poverty and women empowerment. Maybe before continuing, I should clarify that on the workshops and the coaching, we will specifically be focusing in Germany for the diversification of the already existing communities, but also we will be focusing, maybe I think I have an extra slide, we will also be focusing in Albania and Greece, as well as other Balkan countries. And we really hope to indeed connect the different regions and learn from each other so that we can move together on this gender just, we hope, energy transition with a lot of involvement of the local communities. You may see this picture there. You have probably seen this multiple times, because this picture actually, I think, captures quite well what EUCENA aims to do, to indeed empower women to take action in this sector, and then also to diversify the business model. So here we see that this group of women are actually involved also in the installation of the solar PV technologies. So this is from my general introduction. I just want to present to you the experts that I'm very happy to have today around this digital table, let's say, for the discussion and the presentations that we're gonna have. First, I would like to, probably you have, if you attended the first workshop we had, you will remember Marika. Marika is a gender and energy expert from the WECF, Women Engaged for a Common Future. Marika will help us walk through what we have done in the previous session for those of you that weren't there, but also will help us discuss a little bit once more about the benefits of gender just energy communities. Then I'm very pleased to have with us today Marielle Fenstra from the University of Twente, who's going to share with us some research findings on the topic of gender in energy communities. And Marielle is also going to challenge us to indeed and work harder to indeed deepen our impact on the energy transition by getting more people, more women on board, and generally considering different genders when we work on energy transition projects. Then my colleague Katarina Habersbrenner from WCF and also from BBN will be helping us with the session where we will be discussing with the experts that we have today, Malte Ziher, board member again for Bundesbergen Energie, Oral Kaya, energy expert from Troy Environmental, and Christina Andre, board member for Bundesbergen Energie. The program looks like this. For those of you that have not seen it, I might need to share again this screen later on in case we run out of time. But now with no further ado, I will actually give it to my colleague, Marika, to walk us through what we have been doing in our previous session. Marika, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Antonia, for this nice and informative introduction. Good morning, everyone, and a hearty welcome to this second workshop of EUCENA. First, I guess I need to share my screen, right? But I can't. Yes, just a second, please. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So before I go you through a little recap from the last time, I'd like to share, I'd like to start with a short question. And Carmen, can you please share it? Share the poll? Cool, thank you. I just want to know who of you has been part in the first gender workshop that we had already. I'm waiting here. I already received half of the answers. Okay. Okay, I think it's quite clear. We see there are quite a few new people here, and some of you have been here for the second time. So maybe to gather even more knowledge about tools and instruments and how to engage more women in the energy field. So I'll do a short recap now so that we are all on the same page. Last time we started with the differences of sex and gender expectations and gender roles, just to deep dive then into gender dimensions of the energy sector. And you might remember these 6 dimensions, which are linked to various areas of society and which are closely interlinked themselves. Within these 6 gender dimensions, we see relevant approaches for achieving gender equitable energy policies and energy supply. They can be identified as reproductive work, as decision-making and power, public services and infrastructures, as body and health, and as well as institutionalized androcentrism or man-centeredness. Let's have a closer look at productive work. For example, productive work connects to the everyday life as well as to energy markets. Existing unequal representation there and distribution of resources like time and money creates unequal participation in our energy transformation, like limitations to engage in energy communities or local politics, or to invest in renewable energies. Or think here of the dimension of public services and infrastructure. This dimension includes both access to public spaces and resources and their usability. It's the connection to determine whether a labor force can reliably take on unpaid care work, for example, whether care persons have time for gainful employment, and whether care persons can do all this without being overwhelmed. And all these gender dimensions that we see here that are closely interlinked, we see entry points to achieve gender justice. All gender inequalities or gender imbalances are normative in the energy sector. They are located, sorry, they are located in one of, I'm sorry. So the gender imbalances that we see as normative in the energy sector, they are located in one of these three spheres that we see here: distribution, recognition, and representation and participation. Accordingly, there is an unequal distribution of decision-making and power positions, of opportunities and resources. An urgent redistribution becomes all the more obvious. The lack of representation and participation is recognized in the invisibility of women in politics concerning energy, or the underrepresentation in committees, for example. That's what you experienced as well. So keeping these thoughts, we asked you in the last workshop which barriers you are going to expect when including, differently than most of the others, gender. So we got 13 different answers here from you. Naturally, they differed a bit, but they seem to have a common sense. Most of you are expecting lots of lack. We see here lack of time, lack of budget, lack of understanding, lack of representation, lack of know-how, as well as a low empathy and a fear to change habits and or to lose, so the fear to lose the grip to power. You expected barriers to be in place. You expected barriers to be in place that are interlinked with two less positive examples. So that's why we're going to provide you today with a few examples and good practices, how to address and include more women. We're going to answer some of your questions and remind you of the benefits of a gender-just, decentralized, citizen-driven, renewable energy system, like you asked for. But before we are going through all these things, I'm asking you to follow the link that is please shared now in the chat. Antonia, can you do this? And you're ending up, if you follow the link, thank you, Antonia, you're ending up on a Google Doc. And please pick, pick one of the notes and then share with us your thoughts of the benefits of gender-just energy communities. I think we have here like round about 5 minutes. Thank you. So we can see here more engagement, more people, more personal. Better atmosphere we can read here. So you already listened quite a few benefits of gender-just energy communities. I'll try to help you through some different ways of interacting equitable distribution of resources. Someone sees more insurance for changing lifestyle in regard to energy. The empowerment of women, of course. The more women are in the energy community, the more women they attract to be active. That's true. More recognition, more diversity in terms of new ideas. So you list already all the benefits, quite a lot of the ones you higher legitimacy. Increasing the sense of responsibility. Creation of a just and diverse community. So I think, oh, there's some on the side. I'll just bring them here. More financial means for the solving. More financial means to solve the problems in the region. For example, free public transport as reinvestments. So thank you a lot for taking part. I think there are quite a lot of benefits that you already contributed here, and so I really like to thank you. I see you can still go ahead and write, but I would now like to meet one of your other needs from the last workshop. So I would like to please introduce you to Marielle Veenstra of Twente University. She will give us a insight on current research findings about the interlinkages of gender and energy. Marielle, I'm handing over to you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. And let's see, shall I share my screen or are you?
As you prefer, Marielle. I have your slides here. If you want, I can.
Please, if you can share them,
sure.
That's. I think that's the most efficient way. Yes, thank you very much for this nice invitation to present my work on gender and energy. My specialty is energy policy. I'm a policy advisor and public administration politician. And I've been working, before I rejoined academia, I've worked for more than 10 years in local government and municipalities as a policy advisor, and worked a lot on energy efficiency projects, zero emission housing. And so, yeah, I know both, both sides of the coin, both from a policy advisor perspective, as well as an academic researching how we can make the energy transition more just. I hope you can see my video though, but I'm not quite sure whether that works. So I'm working at the University of Twente, focusing on gender and energy. And when I'm looking at gender, I'm taking an intersectional approach. Not all women are the same. No, we often emphasize that that you also need to look at intersectional approaches, like the age of women, the backgrounds, the migrant backgrounds, the educational background from women, and their household composition, etc. But what I see a lot in energy policy and energy projects, the triple role of women is neglected. So there I want to focus on today. The triple role of women is a role of the consumer, the producer, and the decision maker. The consumer is more often the role of women that is emphasized the most in policy documents and even in research. It's when we take a gender approach in energy, we start to, well, there's a growing awareness that there is a gender difference in how we use and need energy services, and that women and men have different energy needs and energy uses. And as I understood from Marika, there's actually quite a lot already expressed in the previous workshop on the gender differences. But if we look at the producer's role, those that are producing energy services and are working in the energy sector, we see a very strong gender inequality in the energy sector all over, not only in energy communities, but also in the huge energy utility companies and the distribution of and the distributors of energy. Roughly, we see that in Europe, 32% of the women work of 32% of the workers in the renewable energy sector are women. But if we dissect who works in the energy sector and at which level and with which function, we move to the next role of women, the decision maker role, and we see that there is definitely a lack of women in decision making positions, in those positions that influence the policy, that creates policies and create programs and projects within the energy sector. And there's a bunch of reasons why women are underrepresented as a decision maker in the energy sector. Partly it's because less girls than boys are choosing for STEM education, but there's also a lot of women lost in the energy sector because of all kind of other situations, like a lack of supporting environment, lack of role models, lack of support, part-time possibilities to combine with care giving responsibilities, etc., etc. And when we look at energy communities, there is, to me, it's a very interesting position, because as a prosumer, you seem to combine all these triple roles in one. So that brings to the question, does energy communities or energy prosumers, in which we both not consume the energy we produce and to have this local level and smaller groups of energy producers in energy initiatives, could women, could that open up a new role or a new voice for women in energy? If you move to the next slide, please. Well, if we look at energy communities through a gender lens, we still see in existing energy communities or the local energy initiatives, energy corporations, energy companies at the local level, still underrepresentation of women. And not only women, also other groups are underrepresented. Now, in Europe, we often see a very, well, white male over the age of 50 presented in the energy communities, with some more recent energy communities or some newer energy communities. They have a more variety, and it also depends a bit on the country that we study. But on average, we can say that women are less visible in energy communities. And there are a couple of reasons that contribute to this lack of women in energy communities. And me and my colleague researchers, Karina Stendal from the Cicero Institute in Oslo, and Florian Hanke from the University of Frankfurt am Oder, we have worked on prosumers and gender and underrepresented groups, and we use the capital approaches. And capital is a theoretical concept developed by Bourdieu and Sen, and we identify, based on their theories, 4 different capital approaches. An economic capital, which is about, if you lack economic capital, you have, for example, don't have enough financial resources to invest in energy efficiency. The human capital is about skills and knowledge. The skills and knowledge people possess to participate in energy communities or participate in the public sphere. Social capital is about the social networks. In which networks are you present? What are your peer groups? What kind of support do you have to act in the public sphere? And the symbolic capital is linked to social cultural roles, to context, to cultural and historic roles that are mostly related to the gendered position in society. Next slide, please. So when we use this capital lens and look through the energy communities we studied, and those are case studies from the Netherlands, Germany, France, Norway, and India that we used for these findings. We try to divine the findings we see, link that to the capital approaches, identify the key challenge, and come up with a policy intervention or an intervention that could overcome this challenge and to address the findings to increase the capital of the women and underrepresented groups in the energy communities that are present there. What we see from the economic capital perspective, that in the cases we see that the household decisions on consumption is very much gendered. So if we look at the average households in which a heterosexual couple makes the decisions, we see that there is a joint decision on why we're going to participate in an energy community, but the financial decision to invest, to buy shares, to pay the membership fee is often coming from the male partner in the households. But I do make a very strong argument in this, that we need to be aware that there are many different forms of households. Single-headed households with only one adult are increasing in all countries in Europe. And especially if we look at there are more women living alone in their households than men. And it's also because of age. So the elderly women are left alone because demographics shows that women are getting older than men. So there are, if we look at households, we need to be aware that there are a lot of different forms of households, and there is not one entity that could be the household. But if we look at household decision making, from an economic perspective, we see that the key challenge is finance, investment, collateral history. Are you able to get a loan? Are you able to invest in energy efficiency? Are you able to invest in participating in an energy community? And a policy intervention to overcome this challenge is to have subsidies for specific groups, special tariffs for those groups that are struggling to participate. Loans could be provided, for example, by the municipality instead of by banks, to ensure a more wider representation in the energy communities, and also employment opportunities. That's also linked to other situations in other capital approaches that often energy communities are voluntary work. We might challenge ourselves to look at the business models of energy communities to see whether there's opportunities to also to pay for the investment of those participants in energy communities that are doing a bit more than the others. From a social perspective, we see that women are more reluctant to take up leadership positions, and especially in energy communities when there is a high representation of male, or you do see that they feel less comfortable to take leadership positions. As soon as there is more gender balance in an energy communities, you see that underrepresented groups, and especially women, are feeling more comfortable to engage and to take also leadership positions. So that's also an important thing to see. If your energy community is more balanced and has a high representation of different groups, those that are you see that also the leadership positions within the energy communities are getting more, are becoming a better representation of the members involved. So a key challenge is for especially for women from a social perspective is network opportunities, time poverty. We really need to understand that especially women are having still traditionally a very high share in care responsibility, not only for children, but also for elderly family members. So take into consideration, whether are you meeting with your energy community, can that be combined with caregiving possibilities and responsibilities in that sense. So that's also a way why some women they might want to join energy communities, but they just don't have the time to do so. Policy interventions that could contribute are affirmative action, make sure that the establishment of quota to say, like, we want at least a certain percentage in our energy community that are representing women or other underrepresented groups. Then you can think of cost reimbursements for example, travel costs, or a small a small payment for those that are very active in the energy communities, and also have a look at employment and education opportunities either within the energy communities to empower women and empower the underrepresented groups, or to work together with your partners, like governmental partners or and entrepreneurs and energy companies. Next one, please. Yeah, so from the other two components in capital are the human and symbolic. Now, the human is very much linked sometimes to the social. It's about leadership positions and employment and management and ownership. But then the difference between the social and the human is that the human capital links to the person itself. So what is the knowledge? What is the interest? What is the skills and the experiences of that person to be involved in a public position, and in this case, the energy communities. So there we see, for example, that women often feel less knowledgeable to be involved in energy communities. They feel that they lack a certain knowledge or certain skills. And that is sometimes because of the narrative of the energy communities. When there are many engineers, for example, in decision-making positions in the energy communities, you see a language within the energy communities meetings, for example, that is very technical, knowledge intensive. That doesn't need to be that way, but it's scared of those that don't have a STEM education. So to diversify the narrative of the energy communities may also help women and other groups to feel more powerful to participate. So literacy programs, training, marketing can definitely contribute to help those that are involved in the energy communities to feel more knowledgeable, to build their skills, and to get more experience to participate and express their voices. The symbolic one is more focused on context, historical, traditional, and religious challenges that limits men and women or underrepresented groups to participate in the public sphere. Those are more difficult to tackle from an energy community perspective. In that sense, I would definitely give you the advice to, well, lead by example. Just let's create an enabling environment, an open environment within your energy community to make sure that that each participant feels and acknowledged, feels empowered, and open to express their voice. And now, then you might want to start the communication with politicians, with local actors as well, to enable a more gender equal environment in other spheres as well, and to build a public space that is open for all. Next one, please. Yeah, so my main observations and recommendations are based on the case studies, is that place equality at the core of action. And that is a combination of make sure that in the bylaws of the energy communities, that equality is positioned in the bylaws, so that there is a legal frame within the energy communities for gender equality and to include underrepresented groups. Also, make sure that this is embedded in your activities, in your communication, when you're writing, when you make communication for the larger community, make sure that it's written by a combination of different people, so they know the voices, they know the language, they know the words to be used to reach those that might not be reached at the moment. Create flexible memberships, installment schemes, flexible tariffs, loans, so that different groups in society with different financial possibilities can participate. And therefore, may also make combinations and agreements with not only financial institutions, but also governmental institutions and municipalities to create a business case, or at least a financial situation within the energy communities, that you are allowed to have this flexible membership and to invest in reaching out to more underrepresented groups. And in order to organize that, have this cross-sectoral coordination, collaborate with other community partners like social welfare partners, like religious, like churches, community centers, libraries, to make sure that you reach the different groups of people, that they support you with your vision and mission, and also well, they might be able to help you with training, for example. So as an energy community, you don't need to do everything by yourself. No? So that's, yeah, so that's the main contribution when it's about recommendations and observations that I have to share. So I think the next slide is, yeah.
The final slide.
Thank you very much for your attention, and sorry that I took some extra time there.
I have to say that I was thinking that, yeah, we're getting a bit off beyond time, but I did not want to stop you. It was a very interesting the information that you have been sharing with us, and very useful, all the recommendation. I would just suggest, just to cover up in terms of the time, that we take the questions together with the discussion that is going to come later on, unless they're very immediate questions right now. I think that is not the case. Then okay, then we will continue afterwards. In that case, I will then give it back to Marika to share again with us to continue, let's say, the discussion on the benefits. Marika, to you.
Thank you, Antonia, and thank you, Marielle. Your insight was really interesting to me. So in the next couple of minutes, I'd like to say a few things about the benefits of gender just communities. Again, oh, sorry. And I just wanted to share again with you I guess you're with me, the benefits that you contributed. Mm-hmm. So I highlighted here a few ones, like higher legitimacy, increasing the sense of responsibility, different perspectives, higher chance of better solving our problem, or a climate problem, but I guess a few others as well. Gender just energy communities ensure higher resilience of their territories by building a strong social fabric, equitable distribution of resources, creation of just and diverse community, more voices taken into consideration, so diversity, more responsibility and social engagement. And if you look at all of these arguments, we see like 4 categories here. So there's the normative arguments, the sustainability argument, the vulnerability argument, and the expertise argument. If you look from the expertise point of view, so in order to contest effective climate and energy policy and then effective energy transformation, we need the technical expertise and skills of everyone. So women expertise and skills of women must be integrated. If we look at these arguments from the sustainability point of view, these arguments say that measures to combat the climate crisis, such as energy policy, must at the same time contribute to sustainable development, and thus, among other things, to promoting gender equality. So it is based on the understanding that gender is becoming a transversal category for coping with the climate crisis due to social, economic, political, and ecological connections. The normative point of view, those arguments follow a value-based approach. So we assume that energy policy must incorporate a gender perspective in order to be effective, sustainable, and fair. Given that equality is a fundamental right, any action taken to tackle the climate crisis, the energy transformation, and reduce its impact should help tackle gender, tackle racial, and tackle economic inequalities. And last but not least, we're having here the vulnerability arguments. These arguments, they emphasize that women are more vulnerable to the effects of the climate crisis. and are therefore disproportionately affected by the climate crisis. So the causes of this vulnerability are explained by their marginalization in terms of access to various economic, social, and political resources. So what we just heard, a simple example would be all the women are disproportionately affected by energy poverty. So following these arguments, we look at one of your questions that you asked us the last time. Why should girls and young women study STEM? We heard already quite a few arguments from Marielle, and I'm asking you now, why? Why not? Why shouldn't they study STEM? I say from my personal perspective, I think it's time to share the cake, the delicious cake of STEM, and women and girls, just have the same abilities. And if you look at the STEM background, right, this is quite often the entry door for higher management positions and decision making. And in this case, moreover, like Marielle just said, it has been shown that diversity in companies demonstrably increases profitability, reduces risk behavior and environmental pollution, and favors sustainable and innovation-friendly structures. Moreover, we have here a repeat of the arguments that we just had. It's good job opportunities for women. It's a proven higher sustainability, it's chances, and we gain no one-sided solutions. So energy communities, the impact of gender-just energy communities, what are they? So energy communities strive to a decentralized, democratic, renewable, resilient energy supply where people have a say. We, the people, are not only consumers, like Marielle just explained to, we are prosumers, which means being part of producing, part of consuming, trading, and storing energy. So all people take part in various steps of the energy value chain. And this is reducing structural, financial, and personal barriers for women. Thinking of knowledge here, thinking of technologies, jobs, and funding. Including women is making use of the transformational potential even more. I'm speaking here of more actors, more expertise, more engagement, and more power. Taking the normative acumen again, if we're talking of higher participation among women and therefore a increased trust and a higher social acceptance, we gain more sustainability and therefore a successful energy transition. Because gender-just energy projects are more effective and have a wider scope, and gender-just climate and energy policies lead to more sustainable measures overall. And if we keep in mind that energy communities are acting on a local level, a level where even women have a say. So we have women here acting as visible change agents. If we, starting with the visibility of female change agents, let me stretch the relevance of gender-just energy communities again. Renewable energy and gender justice are somehow already on policy agendas, but they persistently lack of coherence, I'd say. Simple example, the connection of women and the higher risk of energy poverty is not addressed. We know women have a higher awareness and higher engagement in renewable energy and environmental topics as well. Women in general have a smaller CO2 footprint. So this is just fulfilling the sustainability argument again. Social, cultural, political factors place energy traditionally as a male topic and influence in that way participation and decision making. Don't let that happen. Energy communities are an essential cornerstone for the energy transition and gender equality. And Katharina and our panel guests will just show you now how to overcome some of those barriers. Katharina, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you very much, Marika. Thank you, Maria. So it's so interesting. And I think so, listening to all the arguments why we need gender just energy transition and gender just energy communities, it's so interesting. It's not in place yet. And so that's the idea what we are doing now to discuss a bit about the gender instruments. What can you do? What can we do in energy communities as actors to become more gender just, to have more gender just structures and cooperatives? And I'm so happy to discuss with my panel, with my very gender balanced panel, so with Christina from Bündnis Bürgerenergie, board member and energy expert, with Oral from Turkey, also board member of Environmental Troy organization and very active in energy communities. So he is organizing since years an energy cooperative conference in Turkey. So with not as enabling framework, what we know, for example, in Germany or Netherlands, and also with Malta, a board member and also energy experts on energy communities and energy policy. I would like to start, before we discuss, I would like to start to show you gender instruments which might be used within or for energy communities. Can you see my screen? Oh, yeah. Okay. So the point is, so we have heard now the barriers, lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of skills, lack of budget. We have heard, for example, also the 4 levels of capital, what Marielle introduced, for example, human capital, budget, social. And so here we would like to step in to become very concrete, to become very practical. And gender tools can be very, very big. So for example, the UNFCCC, the climate body of the United Nations. So they adopted the gender action plan for all countries to implement, for example, the nationally determined contribution also in a gender just way. So it's a big plan. And we have also tools which might be easier to implement, those are so-called low-hanging fruits. And I will give you a very short overview about what could be done by energy communities. And I will start with the gender analysis. A gender analysis, it's like a framework. It's really, so you could have a look on your community. So how is the management? How is the supervisory board? How is your membership? How is the distribution between male, female, diverse? Do you already have some gender targets? Which stakeholders you would like to cooperate, for example? Do you have any women's organization where you could have some expertise, for example? That could be a very first analysis of your cooperative, and to see, is it already in place? Is there interest in the management, in the supervisory board to set up some gender targets? So that's a first step. A second step, what we have heard today, for example, it might be not as difficult to set up targets and quotas. So quotas for the board, for the membership, for the supervisory board. Marielle mentioned the flexible membership. So to provide for women, for example, or for overall rate payment. So we do some projects as WECF, for example, in Uganda, where it's very, very difficult to pay $50, for example, as a membership fee. And so it could also help to be able to do it in-kind contribution. Just to think about it, there are many opportunities. And also what we are talking to have gender balanced panels. So it's maybe Christina will mention it. So umbrella organizations could provide lists with female speakers, because we have a lot of female experts. We have to make them visible. Speaking time is very, very particular part. We see, for example, in some political parties for all genders. So that might be a point to discuss. And What you also mentioned, Marielle, it's time poverty of women. So one point is to have a time-friendly, to have a family-friendly organization. It does not solve the problem of time poverty, but it's one first step. So that's, you see, there are many ideas, and I guess some of them you already are implementing, but there is a big bunch of targets and quotas which could be introduced immediately in energy cooperatives if there is a will of the management. The next point is a gender training. So it's a gender trainings for all. It means to provide gender expertise, because it's not only the solution to have more women. Of course, we need women and men and diverse, and we need the expertise, we need the understanding for the policy, for the decision makers, for the stakeholders. So and here we need trainings and coaching for all, for women and men and for diverse, to get the understanding what we are doing here, to provide the arguments, why do we need gender just energy communities and energy transition. A second, another point, very, very important, it's a women's empowerment. So here to have tailored trainings, to have mentoring, coaching networks, to have the exchange. So we see great women and energy networks. So we have GWNet, Global Women's Network for Energy Transition. We have Women for Energy. We see Women and Energy. I think there it's, so it's, I think it's great, and it has to be pushed more to implement women's empowerment, and also within the communities, for example, as an energy cooperative, to organize an information event only for women and girls to show you could become a member, how it looked like, how could you be engaged, for example. It's really to have a concrete offer for them. And communication is a very, very big part where we see we need to do a lot. So it's still a long way we have to go because most of the communication of energy communities, at least in Germany, we have screened some homepages of energy communities in Germany. So we do not see a gender just language and pictures. So we see a lot of active men. And so that's very interesting. And it also seems that it might not be too difficult to become here step by step more gender just. So to use a gender just language, to use diverse graphs, to reduce stereotypes, to organize the events, to use new channels, for example, because it's also, so that's a topic not only for gender, it's for intersectionality, it's for generation, also to attract young people, to have new instruments and gamification, because maybe young people do not like as much to have meetings. One person is talking and is taking the decisions, really to have new instruments here, to make the women visible and to show engaged, successful women also within the community. So that's a big part we can do a lot, I guess, here in this part. And the next part is policy and advocacy. So here it's interesting because most of the energy communities, they do not strive for social policy. They mostly strive for energy policy. And it's also very important to show that they are social actors. And so to strive for a coherent policy, so to combine energy, climate, and social. So one very good example here is energy poverty, where we see the interlinkage. Next is also, for example, the Renewable Energy Directive, where we have a focus for vulnerable consumers, for example, where we can stress it. So the message here is that energy communities are energy actors, they are social actors, they are environmental actors, and just to show that they contribute with a gender just, with a socially just transformation, they contribute to the SDGs, to the Sustainable Energy Development Goals, to the national climate and energy plans, for example. And so that they are very important actors, and they should also develop gender just energy policy, to have quotas, to reduce energy poverty, to show that here, for example, women are mostly affected. So that's also a part where energy communities can become active, and doing all and implementing some of the instruments. For example, you come back to the gender analysis, and maybe that could be also one way to say, well, it's very important we put together all the instruments which are relevant for us in a kind of gender action plan. So that could be a way how to go ahead. And of course, maybe it's not possible to start with all the tools, but it might be that some of the tools are very appropriate for your community, and you can start and you can convince your decision makers or the management or whoever will take the decision. So that's a very short overview about the tools. Here, giving this overview, I would like to ask my panel, and I start with Oral from Turkey, because Oral supported very much the establishment of a women's-led energy cooperative in Turkey. And Oral, so we are very interested which instruments you used for the energy cooperative, what are the barriers, which advantages do you see, and yeah, what is the outcome of this women's-led energy cooperative in Turkey? Oral.
Thank you so much, Katerina. As we see in all of our documents or in all of our surveys, that women are very strong in different economical sectors, especially in agriculture. There are 50% women participation in Turkey. I said these numbers are only from Turkey. 50% in agricultural sector are women, and in educational sector or in schools or academic part, there are 47% of women are in this sector. Especially or in financing or in banking, there are 30%, 30. That means so many women can share their experiences and their knowledges in economical sectors. But in energy, there are only 1%. Only 1%. Since, as you told before, we organize international energy cooperative conferences that, and we will share all the experiences from all over the world in these conferences. And we know from different surveys, women, not only the women, people want to be see the good experiences to do something. And that's really very important for us also. And we said when women, when not only women, when people want to know what are doing other people good and what have their good experiences of them. So we will share all these experiences in these conferences. But after this conference, we tell to the people, why don't we do an energy cooperative that are only produced from women? Or all the members will be of this cooperative can be, why not a woman? That can be a very positive side and also a very good experience for especially Turkey, and not only Turkey, for all of the world. You know, in Turkish law, to be, when you will be a part of an energy cooperative, you must have the electric subscription. But so many houses, the electric, that means householders, so many houses in Turkey, there are direct, the subscription is direct by the man's side. They sign it with the man. But we said, we will do only with women. If you want to be a member of the cooperative, then please come. But that's not effective also. And our cooperative is now 50%, more than 50, 57% established with women members. And that was our positive side, and we want to share our participation of the women's side, and we will set to all the Turkish women, or not only Turkish, to all the women, what we can do and what can women do if they be a part of a energy transition. Last year, as I think you heard in these times so many words about the Turkish university, Boğaziçi University. Last year, the women of our cooperatives was published from the Boğaziçi University the year of the woman of the year, and they said this is a positive side and can share and can open also the doors to different women participation in all other sectors. I think that's enough for the first steps.
Thank you very much, Oral. Very interesting. I think that's a great development. So using, for example, the instruments to have a quota, to make women visible, to show them as change agents, and to do also have such communication and to do networking also about the success in the conferences, and also, for example, congratulations for the University Women of the Year. So here we see that so a lot of instruments are applied, and yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Oral, for sharing this example. And I would like to ask Malte, so my colleague from Bündnis Bürgerenergie. So Bündnis Bürgerenergie set out a very nice campaign, New Power with the Neighborhood, with very nice formats and ideas and channels to address also young people, and so I would be, maybe just, could you explain very quickly some of the formats of the campaign, Neue Kraft mit der Nachbarschaft, New Power with the Neighborhood, and which tools Bündnis could apply to address more women?
Yeah, thank you, Katharina, and thanks everyone for the already very interesting information. Yeah, I'm glad to participate here. And yeah, New Power with the Neighborhood is our current campaign, which we are having together with the 100% Renewables Foundation. And our aim is to make the energy transition interesting again. And so in Germany, we have the Renewable Energy Act, which led to a huge increase of renewables, mainly driven by citizens. But this is mainly due to the beginning of the energy transition, where it was really easy to participate and to install renewables. Now it's super complex, and so there's not so much of the mood anymore to really get going. And so we wanted to change this, and therefore we created this campaign, and to show, okay, even if it can be complex, it still can be fun, and it's important, and everyone can participate in one or another way. There are also easy ways of participating, and so yeah, we have different formats in our campaign. One is that we started an Instagram campaign with young influencers, which were having interviews with communities, with politicians, with football clubs who have solar on the stadiums, and yeah, so the idea was to involve mainly young young people and also to look for a young audience. And I guess this was quite well achieved. So unfortunately, we don't have any statistics on the gender, but at least for the audience, for the age we have, and so more than half of our audience was really between 25 and 34, which is not really the usual audience for citizen energy. But so yeah, we're achieving our goal to target this younger audience, and I guess also women, also because we had women influencer in the campaign as well. And another part of our campaign is the so-called scrolly telling, which is a story on our website which you can scroll through. So unfortunately, or it's in German, but it's really interesting. And the story is on how a renewable energy system could look like. And our main protagonist is actually Eileen, which is a young woman who is like leading the power management of a community. So also here we really started to reshape the thinking of the energy transition, that it's not white old men who to decide, but it's really a diverse acting. And yeah, so everybody who's able to understand German could really, I encourage you to have a look at this story. And yeah, I guess that it was quite successful to target new audiences with our campaign, which is still running, but which is a little bit on a halt, but will be becoming more active for the elections later on in the year. Again, in Germany we have a lot of elections, also the federal elections. So we'll stay active on this.
Thank you very much, Malte. So great. I think so. It's a communication to have role models, to have the gender, so to address also women with female influencers. So that's really great. And thank you, Christina, for sharing the link for the Neue Kraft mit der Nachbarschaft. Even the pictures, I guess, it can be very inspiring to have a look. Thank you. Yeah, maybe my last question to Christina. So Christina, you're also an ecofeminist and you're an energy expert. What is a great combination. So what is your favorite in terms of tools, if you have one, and what do we need, for example, for the energy transition? Which tools we need to apply very urgently?
Yes, thank you. I will try to keep it short because we are running out of time. But my main message is, as a migrant woman living in Western Europe, as a woman or mother of 2 girls, and as ecofeminist and an active person, my message is that we arrive now in the energy transition on a point where it's not going to be easy. The last miles are going to be difficult, and we are running out of time, not only in our workshop, but also we are heading to a climate disaster. And it's important for us women to know that we will be the first one, and our children, or the children at all, who will have the biggest problem of this climate change. So it's important that we stand up now and we check which are the low-hanging fruits, as Katharina said. And this is photovoltaics, and this is participation. So how can we make it viral? I don't want to see Corona going viral. I really want to see the mutation of the photovoltaics, how it goes through each little crack, and how can we use that. So I think an image of a woman and of a photovoltaics is one of the most powerful images, because we reclaim our natural energy. We women used to be also active participants in the really old times. I'm now speaking about human history, back in human history. We were also responsible for the fireplace. And we have to claim back that our fusion reactor, which is up there on the sky, that we are allowed to use that energy without any barriers. And anything what comes between this fusion reactor and us and the usage has to go today. So what are the tools to do this? So if you concentrate on this, then you will know we need pictures, we need protagonists who are female, who are gonna transport this message, and we need really simple language to be able to reach out to everyone. Just imagine a woman having maybe not the education, what she could receive, what her intellectual talent would allow, but maybe she didn't have the opportunity. Maybe she has no time because she's taking care of many. So we need these pictures of these heroes. Also, for instance, we have an energy community in Germany who are involved mainly in wind energy, and they are almost not visible. There are about more than 300 female members in this energy cooperative, and they have lack of time and lack of means, and you almost can't get to this pearl of female action to make it visible. So it's enough of complicated academic things. Let's go to the ground and let's do the revolution there with pictures, simple wording, and very much focused on the low-hanging fruits.
Thank you very much, Christina, for your inspiring answer, and just to stress out communication, language, role models, visibility. Thank you so much. I would also have a question to Antonia, but I skip it because it would be the role of umbrella organizations for gender instruments. I hand over again to Antonia to have time for your questions. So thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the very nice discussion. Indeed, there is a lot to be said, but I would indeed in this moment ask the audience for whether they have any comments, any questions, anything that they would like to contribute to this discussion that we've had and the previous presentations. I think in the meanwhile, I will say that it has been very inspiring. And I think that it was really nice to see how the different things connect. We heard in the beginning the different benefits that there are, the different issues that there are there in terms of getting more women involved. What are the barriers? And then we heard the tools in theory, but also here with the experts in the field in action. What are they actually doing to get more the gender justice principle really materialize in the communities and the energy transition? I don't see any question. I think then in this case, in this case, we then have a question to you. We would, unless, Mariam, do you have a question for us? Or...
Yes.
Sure, please.
Yeah, it's maybe not a question, but more like what we need to think of. I got a message from your whole 1.5 hour discussion. One message was the women need training background, and why not study STEM? It's a great question, but I don't see it simple. It's not like a woman didn't or they're not aware of this kind of studies. Definitely they knew already, but they didn't choose it. And it's like why they didn't choose it. I have studied engineering, but then in my bachelor, and then in my master, I decided to choose something different, a little bit far from engineering, because I was thinking that why I should study engineering when it's like limiting my creation. So it's like you feel you are just following some formula, which is not what you want to have in your life. And I think I mean, in the end, it should be like changing the structure of STEM studies also to make it more understandable, first of all, to have more connection with it, and see the use of this knowledge in life, and just not just have some mathematic basic ideas. So it's like we need more step forward to change the structure, actually, not just promoting the program. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mariam. This is indeed a very good point. It's not enough to just say, okay, why did you join? Why don't you join STEM? We need to also ensure that this is something that is going to be appealing also to the girls and women, that they can see the impact that they can have. I see that Anna-Marie has a question to Christina with regards to reclaiming. Anna-Marie.
Yes, hello, I'm Anne-Marie from WCF. Thank you, Antonia. I couldn't take my hand up, so I wrote.
No problem.
I don't know why. Yeah, Christina, I think that is a really nice picture that you have shown us, and the idea. I just would like to know from you and your activities, are you already kind of planning a campaign, a reclaiming campaign, and how would you do so? Yeah, what are your ideas there?
So the idea is to, it's a bit in delay, but we are still heading to realize it. It's to have a list of those women who are in the energy sector, plus reclaiming, plus having this view on reclaiming our rights for the renewable energies. And that's kind of very difficult, because some women do reclaim it. So I say it like decentral energy transition, but some are working for big corporations, and they are just, you know, like they are just continuing the same path as before. So we have to first see how we separate these two goals, so that we really don't go into greenwashing in a way, if you know what I mean. So this would be one thing, and the other thing is that we would we will hopefully be able to present such kind of initiatives where there are more women participating, so they have this viral effect, and just to show them on our website. But I can't, it's a project which is in a very, very early stage, so I can't talk more about it. And the third thing, like the EUCENA project where you are, is actually already something like that, where we just start connecting the women with the topic of energy. And then once women start to realize that, oh, I have actually this barrier or this barrier, for instance, I have no time or I have no money, then maybe we will come to solutions for different countries. For instance, what is stopping women in Germany to participate, let's say, in German energy cooperatives, where already the highest participation we have, as we have seen it from a study, recent study from World Wind Energy Association. But for instance, women have less income. So why wouldn't we, for instance, I'm just now playing with ideas. Why do women have to put the same amount of money to gain the same amount of money out of their investments, when they actually, there is an injustice in financial injustice? So maybe the solution would be that this 15 or 20% of difference, that women put in less but get the same out. It's just now an idea. So maybe this would be like the first step of, so to say, coming out from a grassroots equalizing of the injustices. It's just one idea out of several, but
of course, we have to see what are what chain reaction it would cause. But maybe there will be other things, like maybe women will say, actually, I have to take care of my children. I can't participate, for instance, in Southeast Europe or even in Germany, because in Germany the childcare is not sorted out. There is no gender justice at all, or very minimum. So we women have to pay for our children to be taken care of the whole day, and that is not in each country like that. So maybe we will say, okay, in an energy cooperative, organize something to take care of the kids' education, or take care of them, so that the mothers can go and be active in the energy cooperative, to show their face, to put their input, to put their ideas in there. So there are maybe some novel constructions there. We can also show there are the bottlenecks of the society.
Exactly. Very nicely put, Christina. Thank you very much. I'm just a bit conscious because the time is already, we're at 11 o'clock, and people have already started thanking us and leaving. They started leaving. I just wanted to ask you, I think that I first need to share the results of the first poll. We see that we have more new people, and then I wanted to actually launch the second poll. We have a question to you, because we wanted to see, we are quite happy, at least I am quite happy about the discussion we've had today, but we want to also hear from you. Whether this discussion, this session has actually been indeed meeting your expectation in terms of learning more about the different tools that the different communities can apply to have a more gender balanced operation. I will also, I will leave just like 3 more seconds. I see that more people need to leave. Thank you very much for having been with us. I'm going to end the poll. And the results are, congratulations, girls and boys around. It seems that people are happy with the session we've had. I want to thank everyone really very much for the participation in this second actually session we've had on the gender issue in the context of the energy transition. I will invite you, we haven't clarified yet when exactly the third session is going to be in this series. Most probably it's going to be mid-April. You will hear from us in this regard. We will also, you will be hearing more from us, from the EUCENA team in the different context. I've mentioned in the beginning, we're very happy that we've actually also kicked off our activities in Albania. In Greece we continue, and soon we're going to have also more workshops and coaching sessions in Germany. So with this, I will once again thank you a lot, very much for all this, and I wish you fine Tuesday.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.